right, we are just saying with my guest how we are really on machi, yellow on black, memo ilifika. I'm talking about Engineer Millicent Alo, Secretary General AMEC. You see? Look at that. Yellow and black. Looks like tuliambiana.
Yeah.
But yes, this is what is set to form center of our conversation, just looking at women in leadership and basically what they are doing in their spaces and position of power and influence to just sort of like bring the change and make a difference in the society as a whole, not just cutting across women, but also in the society as a whole. But in regards to this specific conversation, Millicent, just as we even look at basically what you're doing in respect to engineering and biomedical engineering, and we'll come to all that momentarily, but just very quickly, talk to me about AMEC and what really deals with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Engineer Millicent Alo, a biomedical engineer by profession. I'm the Secretary General for the Association of Medical Engineering of Kenya.
That's AMEC.
That is AMEC. So the Association of Medical Engineering of Kenya is a group of biomedical engineers, both male, female, those people who are working in public sector, that is government hospitals, those who are working in private sector, private hospitals, even private practice in terms of sales of equipment. And faith-based organization, and yeah, it encompasses all the biomedical engineers, professional biomedical engineers across the country, that is Kenya. And so I lead in the capacity of Secretary General. I oversee the day-to-day running of the association. Yes, so basically AMEC, the biomedical engineers are the people who are in charge of the medical equipments in the hospital. Whenever you get to any hospital, the first thing that the first place they take you to is a triage, and they will be taking your blood pressure. That blood pressure is calibrated, is maintained by a biomedical engineer. The next thing, they'll be taking your SpO2 using a finger sensor on a pulse oximeter. That is a biomedical engineer who is ensuring that that particular machine is actually functional and is able to give you the right readings. It goes all the way to different areas that you will actually visit in the hospital. You go to a lab, you'll be asked to give a sample for a particular test. Say malaria test, they'll take your blood sample. The equipment that are used for test all the way from the beginning up to the end is maintained and calibrated by the biomedical engineers. Go to theater, you want to do a surgery, the same. Go to radiology department, you want to perform an x-ray, it's still the same. So basically that is what the biomedical engineers do. And so AMEC has all these biomedical engineers who have trained certificate holders, degree holders, diploma holders, and all the way up.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm getting from you also is that this is a very critical sector and area when it comes to the health docket in our country. But again, very quickly, just also from your view, especially as a woman, we have over time talked about engineering, and this is actually any kind of engineering, because engineering is broad. And we normally do talk about this being a field that is male dominated. But we are seeing you coming on board, especially as a woman. First of all, very just quickly, what really prompted you to want to be in this sector and field?
Well, number one, there was a gap. There was a gap. Most often people are told, we want you to be a doctor, we want you to be an engineer, we want you to be a lawyer, and very big careers. And when we are referring to engineer, people used to refer to mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, chemical, you know, those engineering sectors that are done by, were done initially before this. So when I was in my high school, I really wanted to be in a hospital, that is to be a doctor. And I figured out being a doctor, I needed to require particular grades. But when I completed, I got a B-. And so I wasn't qualified directly to get, a medicine course. So when I was looking through just to check, I didn't even know biomedical engineering exists myself, because it is something that is not known. So when I was looking through the courses that I really wanted to choose, then I landed that. Then I inquired about it and I got interested. Yeah, and so this is a field that is perceived to be male-dominated. And it is very true, because engineering courses as a whole have been male-dominated courses. And even now, especially in African countries, you find that only probably 20% are female, but the rest of other people are male engineers. So this field that is male-dominated, at times you get into the field and you want to start your work, and you see people perceive you at face value. Yeah, they don't, before they look at you as a biomedical engineer, they look at the fact that you're a woman. And you know, that changes the entire scenario or the entire situation, and becomes all different, and you really have to prove yourself otherwise that, look, I am a real biomedical engineer and I can actually do what a man can do in this particular field. So yeah, I was also very much interested in just pursuing something that was just a bit, you know, a bit out of scope, something that was not very common, so that I see what exactly is happening in this field. Yeah, that is what exactly.
So I'm also reading the aspect of perception always coming to the fore in regards to some of these careers that we talk about, them being male dominated, and also part of the reasons to why we don't see a good number of women getting themselves into these spaces. But also I was looking at some data and statistics, and this is about 2021, whereby it showed that about 10,000 graduates, you know, are in the preserve of biomedical engineering, and out of this only 2,000 are women. In your position as a lady in, or a woman in leadership in this regard, also the SecGen of AMEC, what are you doing to perhaps bring more women on board in this field?
Okay. So what we are doing currently, we are creating more of awareness. As a SecGen, we are having activities that are creating awareness to this particular career, because number one, it's not known, especially to the village people, and even people who are actually coming up. People don't know what biomedical engineering is. And even if you do a biomedical engineer, at times you find yourself lumped up with, you know, carpenters in a hospital. Let's say you're working in a hospital, you're there with carpenters, you're there with plumbers, people who probably have not even learned what you've learned. And so what I'm doing as the Secretary General to ensure that women come to this career is that we are organizing various activities across the country to ensure that people are aware of what it takes as a woman to be a biomedical engineer. One of the initiatives that I started as a Secretary General, who is a woman, to ensure that women are empowered in biomedical engineering, is to celebrate the Women Engineering Day, and we celebrate it in a very special way. Instead of calling it Women Engineering Day, we call it Women in Biomedical Engineering Day. That is normally, very specific. That is normally celebrated every 23rd of June every year. So it is a celebration that is marked worldwide by all the women in engineering. But because we were never recognized, and we were never celebrating this before, so we decided to start this initiative 2 years back. We celebrated it second time last year, and we are planning for a bigger one actually this year, and even planning to invite our sister countries in East Africa to come and join us to celebrate the women in biomedical engineering. And so those are some of the initiatives that I'm doing as a SecGen to ensure that women know what biomedical engineering is, and they come into space and grab the space. If they see what we are doing as people already in the field, they see what we are capable of doing, how we are handling ourselves, then they can actually get attracted and you know, get to know what biomedical engineering is and pursue it. Another thing that we also do is also to support the pre-service team who are training currently, like in universities, in the KMTCs, because biomedical engineering mostly is done in KMTC. So we have a talk with them, and just, you know, encourage them to ensure that they understand what exactly they're expecting. And when they're getting into this field, they need to, you know, man up and just know that, you know what, I'm getting into male-dominated field and I have to do something to prove myself that, look, I am a biomedical engineer who is a professional.
I hear you. So then June 23rd of this year will actually be the third round, or the third time. So since then, almost like 3 years later, has this increased the uptake of women in the field?
Yeah, what I can say is that it has increased the uptake of women in the field. And also, if you look at, I think the first time we celebrated this, one of the best students actually took biomedical engineering course in KU. She got an A. I can't remember the name so well. And that was influenced by the fact that we were doing a lot of activities as women in biomedical engineering. And apart from that, women who were there, apart from just the uptake and even the increase in numbers, we've also had our women empowered in the space. Because because initially we're being oppressed. Like you don't know when men are there, you don't have a space there because you get into a workshop in a hospital and 99% are women. You only find probably one lady there against probably 20, or one lady against 5 men, and so you don't have a space. So by having this particular activity, women are given are empowered to take their space and to grab their space even at the work environment. Yeah,
you did mention KMTC as one of those schools that really largely offers, biomedical engineering, I should say. So then, in your perspective, do you feel also the lack of not having good number of institutions offering this particular course is also one of the biggest impediment as to why we don't really see a majority and perhaps mostly women in this field? And also there's little known about what biomedical engineering is, regardless of the fact that it's very important in the field of medicine and health.
Well, I wouldn't say that categorically, because right now quite a number of institutions have started offering the biomedical engineering. My only concern where I sit as a SecGen is the quality of the biomedical engineers that they are training. Why? Because they don't have the right infrastructure to train the biomedical engineers. The technical training institutes that have actually taken up to train the biomedical engineers, they have not sat down with the relevant stakeholders to know what are the requirements in terms of infrastructure, and who are the people who are actually training these people to come to the field to practice biomedical engineering. So the number of institutions is not an issue. The issue is the quality of education or the quality of training that these current biomedical engineers in the new institutions are being given. And I normally say, in most of the meetings that I have with senior leaders in hospitals or even in training institutions, that look, you train a biomedical engineer to come out knowing nothing, especially when it comes to practicals. Tomorrow, you're the one in theater, and then you find the same person that you trained is the one going to handle your anesthetic machine in theater. I hope you will not wake up and say, if it is so and so handling the machine, I better go back home, because you are not confident on the person that you trained. So we're looking at a situation whereby this country will come up with a very robust system to train biomedical engineers as it used to be before, whereby guys were being done for training with practicals. There were equipments across board. Like when I'm going to radiology department, I know what to expect. I would touch X-ray machine at the training level. I will open it up, remove everything, return them back, assemble and disassemble. By the time I'm getting to the field, I'm ripe and ready. But currently, most of the things that are happening is more theory than anything else. So my worry is quality of training. But I'm so happy that women is actually taking up.
Yeah, this is actually beating the purpose of the entire field.
Sure.
But also, as a woman leader, just tell me what more, because I remember last year when we had the CAS Mercy Mwangangi, and also the Director General, Amoth, Dr. Amoth, just talking about how important biomedical engineering is. And here you're talking about the issue of quality, not even schools, so to speak, but the quality of biomeds and infrastructure. So then, even in your engagements, just what more are you doing to perhaps enhance that, so then it does not become a problem?
We've actually engaged the right stakeholders. We've engaged the TVET, we've engaged the CDAC, we've engaged different institutions that are actually taking up the students to do the biomedical engineering, and we've told them what exactly is required. So we are doing that at the capacity of the association. And with the Ministry of Health, what we've actually asked for, and we are still asking for, is favorable environment to allow the women work. Look, I'm a woman and I have children, and I look at the time when I was pregnant. If you don't give me a good working environment, it's close to impossible for me to bend down and start repairing a suction machine. And look, even post-pregnant, I can actually, lactation room, my baby can be brought to the office and, you breastfeed, just a very good working environment. But if you go to most of the hospitals, I mean, they are junkyards. You can barely sit there because majority of them are women. So what actually we were discussing with even Dr. Patrick Amoth and even the former CS Kas Mwangangi is, let's have a better working environment for all the biomedical engineers. And with this, we are supporting women in a way that is better than what we are doing currently. And even recently, we actually also had the CS Health attending our conference in Mombasa early this year. And one of the things that we asked is about having the right environment for work, so that people have space to do the equipment, to repair the equipment, to do the calibration. They need to be treated like healthcare workers. So when that happens, then women will be empowered to work well. You know, women like clean places. Women like space. I know every woman would want to have a space, and even in the workshop, they would want to have spaces. So what we are asking the government, even where we sit and where I sit at the Secretary General, is to provide better working environments for biomedical engineers. The workshops in the public hospitals are pathetic, and I'm sorry to say this because I crisscross this country. I crisscross this country to visit my people all over, and what I see is not appealing to the eyes. The workshops are in pathetic state. Some of them are even containers that do not even have ACs, and you can imagine the weather right now. It's very hot. You're expected to repair a machine, and that's why we end up with the junkyards. We end up with junkyards because people are not given right working environment to maintain the equipment.
And also just what I hear you say is that really shows you that quite a lot needs to be done. And of course this cuts across for both men and women, but just borrowing from what you've said in respect to your example, that assuming, you know, you're pregnant or you're just from giving birth, you don't really expect you to be going down the machine. So perhaps if the environment is conducive and more better, then it becomes easier for you to offer your services. And all this is for the benefit of the Kenyan. Because you're just saying this is a very important field. Without having this biomass, then this equipment in the hospitals won't be better for the patients to use them. Again, there's another issue that came to the fore, and this is in respect to that particular bill. Also, just as a woman leader, talk to me about this specific bill, the components of it, and why it didn't even get to the second reading in Parliament, given the fact that you're supposed to like look into the regulations of biomedical engineering in the country.
Thank you so much. So let me make a clarity that the bill actually went up to the third reading.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay.
The bill, currently the biomedical engineering profession is not regulated in this country. You can wake up today and start practicing biomedical engineering. Nobody will question you, and will continue with messing up Kenyans' lives, and nobody will question you because there's no regulatory body that regulates the biomedical engineering. And so we came up with that bill to regulate the profession, so that we only have the professionals practicing biomedical engineering. All other healthcare, very important health cadres are regulated. Look at doctors; they're regulated. You cannot just wake up. We catch quack doctors day in and day out. Look at nurses; very strong regulation. Look at all other
even a tag to identify you.
I mean, nothing. So you see, I think the government needs to come to a realization that this is a very important component of health, that they can actually support this bill in Parliament. Right now, this bill was sponsored by Member of Parliament Matungulu, Member of Parliament Matungulu, Member of Parliament Mule, Honorable Mule, and I'm in discussion with him to restart it again. It has met a lot of roadblocks because we have cartels, we have quacks who are practicing biomedical engineering, and they don't want to give the space to the real owners. So you see, when it gets to that point, it hits a roadblock because there are people who are there and they do not want to leave. So the main component...
So let me get it. That people who are in the industry, who are quacks, of maybe tied to some superior offices and power. So they do not want this bill to get to the point where it's actually low, because then it will...
check them out.
Okay.
It will check them out of the practice. So right now, what's happening is that I want to do a business. I want to get money. I just say that I'm a biomedical engineer. I produce any kind of a tag, and after producing any kind of a tag, then I can be given a job in any hospital. So sorry, excuse me. What we've done as AMEC, we are registering members with an association, and we are asking the country and even the facility leaders that before we register people, we verify and check exactly if this person went to a particular institution and did they really do the biomedical engineering, because some people also go but they don't finish. Exams are very tough, so they don't finish, but because they started, they come out there, get certificates from River Road and start practicing. But as AMEC, we normally verify. So we are out there asking the facilities that before, and even companies, before you employ, can you ensure that your person is registered with AMEC? Just as a stopgap measure. But it doesn't mean that AMEC is a regulatory body. By the way, you're free to employ anybody who has not registered with AMEC. Because there's no regulatory. We are an association. So that is why we are actually pushing the government to ensure that we get a regulatory body. Recently, the CS gave a go-ahead to KH Power. That that is Kenya Health Professional Oversight Authority, to see if they can have something to give us as a license to practice, because as it is now, the situation is messy. It is messy because everybody practices biomedical engineering, and we are losing people. We are losing people.
Really,
you come to the ICU, you find somebody has set an infusion pump in a given way that they know because they are not qualified, and then a patient is going to be given an overdose of a drug, or a patient is being underdosed. This patient will go. Nobody cares about that. You get somebody who has calibrated a weighing scale in a wrong way. The weighing scale will give you wrong measurements or wrong weight. You can be told you are overweight, you are less weight. Same to blood pressure. You're being told that you are high blood pressure. Your pressure is so low.
And I've had many numerous, especially when it comes to high blood pressure. I'm telling you, the stories out here quite numerous. That someone would say, I went to hospital X, and they checked my blood pressure and it was above normal. But when I went to hospital Y, it was just okay.
Thank you.
And you'd even blame the hospital, so to speak, but then you realize the one who was calibrating, as just you're saying, really did it not in the correct way, but then it's because they were not the qualified biomedical engineers.
Exactly.
So then you'll blame the hospital, but the personnel in that regard, the one who was supposed to do this. Oh my goodness.
Yes, so we need to know, by the time somebody is getting to that, there should be a biomedical engineer being put to task. Look, whenever we have a medication error, a doctor is put to task, isn't it? What of whenever we have a wrong diagnosis because of an equipment error? Who is being put to task?
We always keep saying the doctor. They don't even know it's actually the work of the biomedical
engineer. So we really need to get to know what exactly is the space for biomedical engineering in this country.
Exactly.
And for me, even for the county governors, the governors, our governors as in this country, I will only measure their success in health management if they can streamline the biomedical engineering department by having the right number of personnel that can be able to take care of equipment, because you cannot have level 5 hospital with 2 biomeds running day and night. It is not possible. So they need to have the right number of staffing that is required for biomedical engineers. There are so many in the field, they don't have jobs. Some of them are being given contracts. How can
counties are saying they really can't quite employ them because there's no money to pay them.
Now see, then they will end up with the junkyards of equipment. You bought an equipment CT scan at 30 million because you don't want to employ a biomedical engineer and pay a given amount of money. You will end up having your CT scan in 3 years downtime in the junkyard. So you go back for another one. Which one is more expensive?
Just employ
and get these people running. And that's why that's why we're even coming up with very many innovative ways of ensuring that we sustain this country. Look, the other day we had TIBA event during Corona. You remember? We were there, you know, trying to showcase ourselves as biomedical engineers, that look, we can actually even also come up with a event. But this, I mean, the government is not looking at biomedical engineering as a very important specialty. And this is my plea to the government, that it is high time, and even to the county governors, to look at this biomedical engineering as a very important sector in the health or in hospitals. So they can give them the space that they require. Number one, they should start with the working environment. Pathetic. Let them be removed from the Dandora slums that they've been put in, so to speak. Let them be brought into the hospital and given a very nice working environment.
As it needs
and then let's have women there as well. Why is it that we only have male in the hospital, and yet we have so many female looking for jobs?
That's why we are having you here as a woman in that particular position, as a woman leading in regards to this particular bill, because I'm reading a lot of, if we just had regulations, then some of these problems that we experience even in our hospitals and the number of death cases that we even record will not be as easy. At least we'll reduce them a bit. So then, yes, you've picked it up. Where is it? Is there perhaps a possibility of it becoming law, so that it moves from just becoming a bill of regulating the industry or the space that is biomedical engineering?
Of course, when it starts regulating, it becomes a law. Because when you make it as a regulatory authority, a body, then it becomes a law with the mandated staff to work on every aspect of the bill. So at the moment, what I can say is that the bill reached its dead end with the other parliament.
With
the previous parliament. With the new parliament, we are planning to pick it up again, and we are in communication with Honorable Mule to revive it again in parliament. And this time round, we are praying that it takes the day, because it's high time. Yeah, we start regulating, and it's high time we get rid of equipment junkyards from our hospitals. And this can only happen if we have a regulatory authority who can go to the hospitals and then say, look, why are you having 1, 2, 3 equipment not working? And then you'll say, oh, because of ABC. Right now, even if they have 10 equipments, I go and ask, they know I'm not a regulatory authority. I'm just guiding.
I mean, they won't even like listen to you.
No.
We have like 3 minutes to exit this space, Engineer Millicent. And let me just get your quick thoughts on this one. So then, parliamentarians are supposed to be legislators. Just borrowing from the 12 parliamenters is because, I mean, if they were so keen into this, this would have become law for the benefit of Kenyans, just as we've talked and you've mentioned. So then do you think that in that regard, just in that regard, that to some extent, not holistically, but to some extent, in good number of times, legislators are perhaps failing Kenyans?
I would say yes, and I would say no. I would say yes because this bill has been presented to them, especially in the past parliament, and they didn't pass it, and they know the importance of it. So they're actually failing Kenyans. With the kind of bills at times that they push to go, they don't have even meaning. And then they let the bills that have meanings to lie and, you know, go deep the drain. And I would say no, because we have very good people who are actually proposing for such kind of bills, like Honorable Mule. He knows, he's a biomedical engineer by profession, by the way. So he knows what it takes to have this bill. He understands the industry. But for the rest of them who doesn't understand the industry, it takes, you know, an arm and a length to explain to them, this is why we need this bill. So it is a yes and no situation.
And that's why I said to some extent, because not all. Because also we've had some very good bills which have actually become, you know, like the mental health bill. You know, that ultimately, as much as it took 4 years in Parliament, but at the end of the day, it's actually a law and the proper regulations have been put in place to actually deal with that. Nonetheless, thank you so much for your time, Engineer Millicent. You have to cap in at this particular point, but we definitely appreciate your valuable inputs. Just looking at what you're doing in your space and position of leadership and power to at least make a difference in the community and society altogether. We definitely appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've been speaking to Engineer Millicent Alo, who is the Secretary General AMEC, of course, just talking to us about the field that is biomedical engineering and looking at the space of women, particularly in this particular industry, and just how we can upscale that and what she is doing in her position of leadership to ensure that that does come to fruition. Good place to end this conversation, but stay put. We are coming back in just a short moment.